All right, back on the Young Turks. One other thing that I'm going to throw in here a little randomly. The more I see what a kind of a clown Perry really is, and by the way, I think that's part of the reason why he's hesitating getting into the race, because by now he should have gotten in already, right? He should have been thinking about getting in a long time ago. I think he's hesitating because he knows he's a clown and he's got some skeletons, whatever it is, right? And he's not quite confident for whatever reason, right? The more I think, at some point, watch out for Huckabee to come back in, right? Because there's got to be a Romney alternative, and these jokers aren't it. Right now, the leading one in the race is Bachman. That's crazy, man. That's just totally and utterly nuts. Huckabee come in with that fake populism and all shucks attitude and the religious credibility. That dude's trouble, man. All right, let's see what happens. Let's hope that, I'm wrong and Huckabee's enjoying his time on a yacht right now somewhere and drinking margaritas and not at all interested. So, speaking of Michelle Bachmann, she's in trouble for a couple of different things. Well, she's not really in trouble. She's only in trouble because we're pointing it out. She doesn't give a damn. So, a couple of her hypocrisies. Number one, there's a new letter out that they found. It's an old letter, actually, that they found now, saying that she was congratulating Tom Vilsack, the Agriculture Secretary, for giving $100 million to the dairy and pork industry in Wisconsin. I'm sorry, in Minnesota, to her district, for businesses in her district. And, it was effusive. She's like, oh, what a brilliant idea to rescue these industries, and you're the best, et cetera. So I guess when you're doing bailouts in her district, it's fine. But my favorite part of that, I talked about this on MSNBC. Actually, it was one of my favorite stories, so we put it up on YouTube. You can check it out. But my favorite part was when she's like, but no, it's not really an earmark. It's because it's going to my district. That's awesome, okay. And plus, she's got her family farm took $250,000 in farm subsidies. She's the worst, right? But another thing they caught her on is those rallies, those Tea Party rallies she held, it turns out she used public money. $3,000 from her office, $3,000 from a bunch of different Republican offices, and they said, oh, it's a press conference. What part of that was a press conference, okay? Get, right? Ain't got nothing to do with a press conference. It was a huge rally, and they took no questions from the press, et cetera. But, if you're watching the MSNBC show, you know this stuff, right? But here's the fun twist. So here comes Monica Crowley to defend her. And I love this defense. Let's go to clip number 7.
An investigation by Roll Call shows some of the darlings of the Tea Party movement, including presidential candidate Michelle Bachmann, using taxpayer dollars to pay for their rallies. In 2009, Bachmann and company used nearly $14,000 just for speakers at an anti-Obamacare rally. As the paper points out, these House rules prohibit the use of taxpayer funds for political purposes. Monica, what?
Well, a lot of this is very murky. Okay, so I'm not making excuses for this, but there are a lot of sort of murky terms about what qualifies as, say, a press conference, what qualifies as a political event. So some of these anti-Obamacare rallies actually did qualify as a political event, but now they're saying, look, it sort of crossed the line into something else, and taxpayer money should not have been used for this. On the other hand, I do think that Michelle Bachmann and the other presidential candidates, especially those who are currently serving in Congress, ought to be very careful, because here it comes. This is the first attack on Michelle Bachmann. So far, she's been relatively immune because nobody quite took her seriously. She's gaining in the polls. When you start gaining in the polls and gaining traction, that's when you start attracting the wrath of the left-wing media.
Yeah, my wrath, feel it. Or what we do is we point out her hypocrisy. Right. Before she could skate on all that, now she can't skate on it, and so they're crying about it. She seems to have use of her Tea Party rally, but it's also murky. I'm not making excuses or anything, but boy, is it so murky. Do you think that's how Fox Business would handle it if it was a Democrat? Or would they be like, outrageous use of taxpayer money? How dare they? Right? By the way, did you notice the news anchor on Fox Business calling it Obamacare? Remember, we told you yesterday on the show, news executives at Fox News tell their anchors to not call it healthcare reform, but to call it Obamacare. And they do it because they get paid to be news actors, in this case doing propaganda for the Republican Party. All right.
I hate to kind of bring it to this point, but maybe if she tweeted a picture of her boob or something, that made people go, oh my God, what has she been using the taxpayers' money for, using the funds unwarranted for, then maybe she gets out of office. Now, because she's not showing any pictures of naked ass, then it means that, oh, she just broke some rules, but she'll get beyond it because she's just running for president. They're just trying to find things that she totally did wrong that are actually wrong with the system, messing
Now,
the system.
put aside the boobs and the ass stuff. Jared's 100% right. Think about that, right? If there was something scandalous like sexual, oh, she gotta go. She's gotta go. Oh, it's a distraction. It's, oh my God. She put it on the tweeter. How could she put it on the tweeter, right? But she breaks all sorts of laws, spends money on her own political rallies. That's taxpayer money. She does the pork barrel spending, which she says she's 100% against. She takes $250,000 for her own family farm. None of it matters. Look, here's how many shows are covering it. 2. This one and my show on MSNBC. Okay, no, I'm exaggerating. I don't know Chris Matthews or Maddow or whatever or anybody else is talking about it, but barely. And that's it. It's going to be gone in 2 days. I'm not even going to talk about it. It's not going to be a controversy. You can steal the American taxpayers' money all day long. Nobody cares about that. But if there's some sort of genitalia involved, and then, oh my God, what's going on in the tweeter?
Now he's been wasting taxpayer money. He was in the gym.
Yeah.
Took that picture.
Yeah, that's
in the
my
gym,
favorite part.
Using our money.
No, that's my favorite part. You remember that? Like when the last pictures came out and he was at the house gym, people were like, but that's at the house gym? But wait a minute. So what that it was at the house gym? Did it cost an extra dime for Wiener to go to the house gym that day to take a picture? I mean, what is that? Meanwhile, you can get $250,000 here, this, that, no, nobody cares. Okay, anyway. By the way, that's the least of our problems. The trillions going to the banks. That's what people should be in a rage over. But anyway. So now we go to Santorum, another goofball. He's got a theory on why we're not doing well in history scores for our kids. Clip 4.
There was a report that just came out last week that the worst subject of children in American schools is not math and science, it's history. It's the worst subject. How can we be a free people? How can we be a people that fight for America if we don't know who America is or what we're all about? This is, in my opinion, a conscious effort on the part of the left, who has a huge influence on our curriculum, to desensitize America to what American values are, so they're more pliable to the new values that they would like to impose on America.
Yeah, I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. I mean, the guy's an idiot. I mean, conspiracy theories about how the left's not teaching history. Go to any of your Republican candidates' speeches and see how much history they know. And, Lexington and Concord, which happened, I know, here in Montana. And as it said in the Constitution, we are endowed by our Creator with some inalienable rights. Look, and as Paul Revere shot his Uzi, warning the British that the Russians were coming. Look, your guys don't know any history. You don't know any history, Rex Santorum. What the hell are you talking about? Left plot. Are you kidding me? Who's the one attacking all the professors? Who's the one saying, oh my God, don't trust the professors. Don't trust the scientists. No, the scientists with all their global warming, climate change, they're all lies. No, trust my propaganda instead. You guys don't believe in science, you don't believe in history, you don't believe in facts, you don't believe in reality, and then you come and talk about how the left wing has a plot not to teach history. I would love it if every kid in this country knew every part of American history. I would love it if they knew that at the time, George Washington, Thomas Jefferson, Benjamin Franklin, all the rest of them were the biggest liberals in the world, in the history of the world at that time. Oh, no, don't teach that. What were they? Were they conservatives? When they did a rebellion against the English monarchy, were they conservatives? When they said every other country in the world is governed by a religion, but we're going to start a country here that is going to be secular, not governed by one religion. Was that a conservative position? No, that was a liberal position. Okay, learn your history, Santorum. All right, Chris Christie, we told you yesterday, yelling at his Governor Walnuts, yelling at his constituents. Well, it turns out disastrous in his home state. 44% approval, 47% disapproval. He's slip-sliding, man. He's rolling down that hill, and it ain't working out for him. Hey, should he run as vice president? That's the latest rumors. When they ask people in New Jersey, 61% think it's a bad idea, 32% think it's a good idea. Massive trouble. It's not just that he's shouting at people. He cut education by $820 million. Well, he says, oh, what can I do? The budget has problems. Well, they had passed a law saying, let's tax millionaires just a little more. It would actually raise, since New Jersey is actually a very rich state. I believe it might be the richest state in the per capita in the country. It would raise $637 million. Remember, cuts of 820 in education, 637. You're most of the way there. He vetoed it. No, 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 no. The millionaires have to be protected. There's just no money for your kids' education. Okay. Last thing on the race. New poll out showing that 76% of all people of Americans would vote for a Mormon for president. 22% said no. That's weird bigotry, man. And you know what's weirder? The Republicans, 18% of them said they would vote no. Now, I know it's because they got two Mormons in there in their primaries. Not that anybody knows John Huntsman or that he's a Mormon, but Mitt Romney, their leading candidate's a Mormon, so that probably brings down the number for the Republicans. But overall, that means the rest of the country is more bigoted towards Mormons than Republicans are. That's not a good place to be, okay? And you might think, well, the Mormons are crazy. Well, I think they're crazy. You know, the guy looks into the bag and he's got the magic glasses. It's absurdity, right? And then right after it, he loses the tablets. I mean, it's comical, right? But I'm agnostic. I think all the religions are comical. And then the other guy walked on water, and the one guy split the sea, and the other one, you know, did X, Y, and Z. It's all comical. So being bigoted against Mormons and saying that they shouldn't be president is outrageous. And that's a way too high a number, 22%. You know, again, you know, I'm sorry I keep going back to this just because it just happened. On the MSNBC show, I welcomed the Mormons into the M&M Club. Jesus, it was just us before, Muslims and Mexicans, but now Mormons can join it as well. Like, JR, you're way beyond it, man. We already had a black president, okay? You're free.
I have nothing more to complain about.
Yeah, that's it. You're done. I don't want to hear shit from you anymore, okay? I'm with Dr. Laura. Okay. But something about starting with an M. That isn't working out in America. Okay. So, and I know everybody thinks I'm biased because I'm protecting Mormons because Glenn Beck's Mormon. I know, but it's okay. Man, they got a lot of Mormons on the Republican side. Harry Reid's Mormon. There's a lot of powerful Mormons in the country, but yet people are like, no, can't be president. Senate Majority Leader, of course. President, no way. It's so random. Anyway, here we go. So this is a fascinating issue. Oh, I'm out of time. Jeez, I'm Lord mercy. Okay. So now I'm not out of time for the whole thing. Oh, I didn't even get to Farrakhan. Oh, jeez. Okay. We're going to save Obama's stance on gay folks for tomorrow. I'm not done. Don't go anywhere, okay? I got to tell you these stories, okay, because I promised them and they're incredibly important. First of all, executive pay through the roof. You know this, right? It's just the millionth piece of evidence in a row. It turns out, but this is a great piece of evidence. It's a great article from the Washington Post. First of all, you know, people say, oh, if you're rich, that's because you have special talents. You're, you know, Michael Jordan, you're Oprah Winfrey, whatever, right? Bullshit. Sports and media people, of the top 0.1%, that's the richest people in the country, people making over $1.7 million, only 3% of them are in media or sports. Only 3%, okay? 60% are corporate executives. They're sucking all the money out, okay? So they're sucking it all out. It didn't used to be like that, but guess what? You know, I've told you before. Changed in the late 70s. Gee, I wonder why. I wonder if those Supreme Court decisions had anything to do with it. Top 0.1% used to own 10% of the income in this country, and now they own 20%. The same time frame, always the same time frame, late 70s to now. Okay, what changed? Corporate power changed. What else do I have for you? Executive compensation since the 70s, our wages stagnating. Okay. CEOs, not just CEOs, corporate executives, quadrupled. Their pay raises have quadrupled. Their income is quadrupled. Enjoy. Okay. Now, by the way, speaking of corporate problems, J.P. Morgan did fraud, right? And they told people, oh, don't worry, these mortgage securities are fantastic, just like Goldman Sachs, and you should buy them all. And then they went and turned around and paid help to make a $600 billion, right? Or no, in this small case, it might have been 600 million. Well, it might have helped if I highlighted. $600 million bet against those same securities. Now, they've done this in 100 different ways, right? But in this particular case, it was obvious, it was blatant. They've got documents showing they knew the securities were going to fall in the crapper, and they were planning to make money on it by betting against it, but they sold it to investors as if they believed in it. Same story you've heard about Goldman Sachs. This time it's JP Morgan. But don't worry, we have justice today. They have been fined $153.6 million. Whoop-de-doo. That's about 2.5 days of earnings for JP Morgan. What a joke. Oh, by the way, they did not admit any fault in this case. So we're not saying we did. We're not saying we did. And here is a tiny bit of our earnings, and you can piss off. So there you go. Wow, wow, we're getting really tough on them. By the way, Jamie Dimon goes around the head of JP Morgan like, I am the good banker. I know what I'm doing, because JP Morgan was less of a disaster than the other disastrous banks in 2008. Well, you did the fraud. It was your company. Are you saying as CEO you're incompetent and stupid and ignorant and didn't know your company was doing massive fraud? And if you didn't do the fraud, why'd you just pay $153 million saying you did? I know, they didn't technically say they did. They just handed over $153 million for fraud. So next time somebody tells you about Jamie Dimon, please, okay? By the way, there are 32 companies, another great report from Think Progress, that paid more money to their executives than they paid in taxes. They don't give a damn about paying taxes. They're taking the money home. All right. Now, and one last thing on this before I get to the part I love. Somebody at Huffington Post, I think it's Leela, I should have printed it out. All right, anyway, Leela, you rock. Came up with a great slogan for Walmart. I don't want to get into all the specifics. You remember we did Walmart yesterday, class action lawsuit, gender discrimination. The conservative Supreme Court throws it out, saying that, how do I know Walmart did all that discrimination? It's in all those different cities. How can you connect all that stuff? Well, she made a point that, well, if a company is that big and you've got employees in all these different places and they're all being discriminated against, according to the Supreme Court logic, well, you can never figure out that the company ordered it because it's in all those different places. That's absolutely true. That is exactly what their logic was. So what does that make Walmart? It makes them too big to sue. It's a great phrase she came up with, and it's absolutely right. And the Supreme Court is the worst of the worst. All right, so now you see all this income disparity, inequality in the country. We've talked about it a lot, and it's because the corporations won the ability to buy our politicians. The Supreme Court in 1976 and 1978 said that they could spend money because it was their First Amendment right as human beings, even though corporations are not human beings. But they gave them those rights anyway, right? And since then, they have completely corrupted our system. Our economy has actually grown significantly in that since 1980. But our wages, the average American wages, have completely stagnated, as Robert Reich is going to show you. He's former labor secretary for President Clinton. He's now a professor at UC Berkeley. And did you know that, but just one little fact before I go to the video. Did you know that in 1988 versus 2008, the average American worker actually lost $400 with today's money? So if you adjust for inflation, we make $400 less in 2008 than we did in 1988. 20 years and we lost ground. Okay. Now, how could our economy double and we lose ground? Well, Robert Reich is going to explain it in about 2 minutes. Let's watch.
What's the problem with the economy? Let me connect the dots and show you the big picture in less than 2 minutes, 15 seconds. Dot 1. Since 1980, the American economy has doubled in size. But adjusting for inflation, most people's wages have barely increased. Second dot. Where did all that money go? Almost all the gains have gone to the super rich. The top 1% used to take home about 10% of total income. Now it takes home more than 20%. And the super rich have 40% of the nation's entire wealth. The third dot. All this money at the top has given the super rich lots of political power, especially power to lower their tax rates. Before 1980, the top tax rate was over 70%. Now it's down to 35%. And much of their income is capital gains, subject to only a 15% tax. According to the IRS, the richest 400 Americans pay only 17%. Fourth dot. This means huge budget deficits. Tax revenues are down to less than 15% of the total economy, the lowest in 60 years. So public services are being cut at all levels of government. Our kids are being crowded into classrooms with more and more other children. Roads, bridges, levees, healthcare, safety nets, they're all being sacrificed. The fifth dot. Instead of joining together for better wages and jobs, many people are so scared that they're competing with other working people for the scraps that are left behind. So we get union versus non-union, public employee versus private, native-born versus immigrants. Final dot. The vast middle class, unable to borrow as it could before, no longer has the purchasing power needed to get the economy growing again, which means continued high unemployment and an anemic recovery. So you see the big picture? The only way we can have a strong economy is with a strong middle class.
That is only 100% correct. And I will add some things to it. You know, our tax rates go down. Well, actually, the tax rates for the rich go down, as he pointed out, so we have less money. But it's not just that. It gets redistributed, the taxes do. Since 1950, the share of corporate taxes that are paid has gone down dramatically as a share of the federal revenue. Payroll taxes have gone up dramatically as a share of the federal revenue. What does that mean? That means that the costs are being redistributed from corporate America to us. Why is that happening? It's because corporations are very, very rich, and they could buy politicians who pass laws that get them lower tax rates, bigger advantages, bigger monopolies, bigger government contracts. They literally take our money and they funnel it through those government contracts to those connected companies. And then they circulate that money back into the politicians and buy them more. What does it do? As Robert Rice showed you there, it creates huge deficits. And then one more dot. Once they have those deficits, they say, well, what can we do? We had to cut spending on the middle class again. And then we have even less of a middle class. And what does that do? It creates a death spiral for the economy because nobody can buy anything. And so in the end, the rich don't wind up benefiting either. They do in the short run, no question about that, to the tune of millions and sometimes billions of dollars. But in the long run, we become a third world country. And right now, we are, in terms of income inequality, right between Cameroon and Jamaica. That is a disastrous place we find ourselves. That is not how you build a healthy economy. All right. We've got probably the best story of the day coming up. A bank robber who robbed a bank for $1. We'll explain. All right, back on the Young Turks. Cenk and Kasparian, ready to rock a second hour. Let's do it. First story is devastating. Forward.
All right, let's start with James Vernon, or Verone. I'm such an idiot. Okay.
Just calm down.
Okay.
I did the same thing in the beginning of the first time.
All right, James Verone is a resident of North Carolina, and he has several different ailments, okay? He has a growth on his chest, 2 ruptured discs in his back, and he also has a left foot problem. So he does not have health insurance. He needed care immediately, so he decided to go to a bank, rob the bank of $1, and then after writing that note to the teller saying that they're being robbed, he went and sat there waiting for the police to arrive so he can go to jail and receive health care.
Yeah, look, this is the state of our country, man. He used to be a delivery guy for Coke, and then he lost his job, and he's doing odd jobs here and there, working part-time in a grocery store. You know, he's trying to get by, right? That's what he's trying to do. But he's like, I got this problem in my chest. I'm worried to death about it. I get this big thing bulging out of my chest. Mm-hmm. If I go to the emergency room, they go, well, it's not an emergency yet because you're not about to die, okay? But can you look at it? Nope, can't look at it. Go back home, right? So now he doesn't have health care. What's he supposed to do? Well, you know, Obama's health care program is supposed to cover people like this. We think, we hope, right? But it doesn't start till 2014. Right. So he's like, so I got this huge growth on my chest. Am I supposed to wait 3 years? What the hell am I going to do? And he figures, well, the only place I can find it is in prison, healthcare.
Right.
And he's right. So we got a little video on this. Let's watch it.
First time I've ever been in trouble with the law. So it's not, you know, it was, you know, I'm sort of a logical person, and that was my logic. That's what I came up with.
That is how James Verone says he came to the decision to rob the RBC Bank on New Hope Road on Thursday of last week. He had no gun, but handed the teller a rather unusual note.
The note said, this is a bank robbery. Please only give me $1.
Then he did the strangest thing of all.
I started to walk away from the teller, and then I walked back and I said, I'll be sitting right over here on the chair waiting for the police.
And that's what he did. Listen to the teller on the 911 call to police.
He's sitting on the sofa as you walk in the front door.
So why did he do everything he could to get arrested?
Because I wanted to make it known to whoever would know that, you know, it wasn't done for the monetary value. It was done for, you know, medical reasons.
That's right. James Verone says he has no medical insurance. He says he has a growth of some sort on his chest, 2 ruptured discs, and a problem with his left foot. He's 59 years old, and with no job and a depleted bank account, he thought jail was the best place he could go for medical care and a roof over his head.
You wanted them to arrest you.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I went in knowing I was going to jail.
James is hoping for a 3-year sentence. He figures he'd then be able to collect Social Security when he gets out, and says he'd head for the beach.
I already got a condominium, spoken to the realtor on Myrtle Beach.
He says he's getting good medical care now, but the jail doctor accuses him of manipulating the system.
If it's called manipulation, then out of necessity, because I need medical care, then I guess I am manipulating the courts to get medical care.
God bless his heart.
I love the jail employee. Would you look at that? Ripping off the system by going to jail.
So what do you want him to do? Die? Okay, is that his 2 options? Well, you know what? If I was stuck in a situation like that, and that's the only place, don't you get it? That it's a 10 times worse indictment of our system, of our society, that he has to do that he's that desperate? And you think the problem isn't the system? The problem that he's ripping off the system? I mean, people have no sense to them. And look at what he's saying. He's literally dying to get to Social Security, right? So that he could pay for health care, et cetera, et cetera. And what is the current proposal in Washington for this? Well, the Republicans are saying repeal Obamacare, so this guy never gets treated, right? And then raise the retirement age for Social Security and Medicare. So, nope, you won't be safe then either. You got to go all the way to 69.
And after passing that legislation, the Republicans will tackle health care within the prison system.
Yeah. And you know what? They'll see this, and Republican mindset will be like, oh, apparently we're giving too much health care in the prisons. Let's go stop that, right? So they start dying in the prisons. No, it's outrageous. And, you know, the other part of it that I got was, you know how so many Democrats and Republicans say, well, people are living so much longer now. Why don't they just go back to work? They just work till 69. What's the difference, right? The guy's got 2 ruptured discs. He's got the problem with his foot, et cetera. So somebody wrote an email to us, which is great. He said, what if you're a roofer? That's your job. You're a roofer. You want the roofer to go back out there at 68, 69, whatever. Let's say he's like this guy. He's got a rupture. You want him on top of a roof. You want him doing construction. You want him doing this. Well, what the hell, man? I mean, they're not even going to make it to 69.
I know.
And
but they don't care about that. You think Republicans care if a roofer is in terrible condition to work? They don't care. Oh, well, sorry, suck it up. Find another job. Work as a barista. Do whatever it takes to pay for your health care. That's the mindset that Republicans have.
And then when that isn't enough to pay for Medicare, or medical care, I should say, like we were talking in the case of Walmart, so many of the employees are on food stamps or they're on Medicaid because they don't have enough money. By the way, that is a way that we subsidize Walmart, okay? Because the government pays for the health care, et cetera, of Walmart employees, when Walmart should be paying that.
Absolutely.
Right?
Especially considering their profits.
Right. And like last year, I think they made $14 billion, but they don't have enough money. We got to pay for their employees. Anyway, when they go and they say, well, I don't have enough money because I'm working at Walmart, I'm a manager and I'm getting whatever I'm getting, $9, $10, $12 an hour, it's not enough. They say, well, I don't know, so what? You did everything you were supposed to do, so what? Get a second job, get a third job, who gives a shit? We don't care about you, we only care about the rich. And you know, that's the Republicans, and the Democrats turn around and they don't fight those guys. They go, oh, well, what could we do? The Republicans said we had to cut spending. Republicans said we have to raise the retirement age.
It's amazing. You see Ayn Rand's ideology really, you know, reverberating through the Republican Party. Like, it's what they believe in, and they're completely practicing what she preached in her book.
Yeah.
And you read that book, as a human being, you read that book and you think to yourself, God, what a loathsome person. What a hateful, loathsome person. And then you have like an entire party who looks at that book and treats it as if it's the Bible.
Yeah. Well, that's because the Koch brothers, for example, who are radical libertarians, they love that because it allows them to keep billions more in money that they don't have to pay in taxes. And they make billions of dollars in profit from polluting and making us pay the cost, etc. They transfer all that cost onto the American taxpayer, and they think they're supermen. And they pay all these politicians to do their bidding. They're like, all right, it's not, they don't make the politicians like Ayn Rand. They just find all the assholes in the country who are Ayn Rand fans, and they give them millions of dollars to go run for office. So, individualism. That's where individualism's got us, where we got to go to jail to get health care. One last thing about this story. The teller had to go to the hospital. I love you guys, but you got to buck up, man. Okay? She was in a panic, and she like having heart palpitations or whatever.
Oh my God.
She had to go.
Are you kidding? Are you kidding me?
The dude asked for $1 and then went and sat down and asked you to call the police. What's the panic about?
I heard the 911 call, a good portion of it. I couldn't get it completely for us, but she was the lady was talking to her, and she goes, "Oh, where is he?" She goes, she was told, she didn't even hear what the lady was asking. She goes, "Is it She goes, "Did you see him?" She goes, "Oh, I had a late lunch." She goes, "Are there 1, 2, 3?" She goes, "Oh no, it's after 1. No, I had a lunch." I was like, "You don't even know what she's asking how many people are in there," and she's in the back going, "Oh, I can't talk right now. He's right around the corner." She was losing it. She was losing it.
Dude, did it not give you a clue that he asked for $1? Okay, did it not give you a clue when he said, "Can you call the police? I'm gonna go take a seat." Okay. Man, look, that's a theme of this hour. I'm gonna make some controversial buck up comments later in the program as well. All right, speaking of controversy, let's go to Louis Farrakhan, leader of the Nation of Islam. He's, of course, a controversial person. You know, he created controversy back in 2008 when he supported President Obama's election. And then, of course, the Republicans were like, aha! If he's for Obama, then Obama must be best friends with Farrakhan. Well, we now have our answer. Apparently that is definitely not the case, because he's about to call him a murderer. Let's watch.
I'm going to ask you a question. Do you think God would give his only begotten son for this world?
Think about it.
Just think. Look at the world that you live in. How rotten it is. We voted for our brother, Barack. Beautiful human being with a sweet heart. And now he's an assassin. They've turned him into them. You didn't hear me. They turned him. They brought him to England. See? Oh, now he can stay in Buckingham Palace. Nobody stayed there. Just a few presidents. Why him? Why? See, we know this enemy. See, America can sit down tyrants, but who will sit her down? She puts her trust in her weapons of war. She threatens the nations of the earth, and has my brother calling for the assassination of brother Muammar Gaddafi. What has he done? I can defend that man. You don't know that man. See, you're a victim of that media that's controlled by satanic forces. My poor brother, they're bombing. They said they were only going over there for humanitarian reasons. We're going to stop Gaddafi from killing his own people, and we believe that. You've been deceived. You talk about a man killing his own people when you lie to the American people saying that Saddam Hussein had weapons of mass destruction. When you lie and then take innocent young men who come to serve their country and send them to die in Iraq, in Afghanistan, over lies, that's a murderer in the White House. Who will say it? I will, because I have a power behind me that is bringing America to judgment as we speak. Don't be afraid. I'm talking.
All right, there were some awesome parts of that video. First of all, you didn't hear me. Yes, I did. Was he the guy saying, yes, I did?
He goes, yes, we did.
Yes, we did.
Yeah, lady.
But I love that he's accusing the audience of not hearing you. No, dude, everybody heard you, man. You called him an assassin and a murderer. We got that loud and
Talk
clear.
about debate skills. Anna, they should have taught you that. When you're talking to someone, you make a point, you say it very quietly. Now, I want to make my last point. Y'all didn't hear me. Oh, yes, we did.
You know who it reminded me of? Oh, well, not that. Okay, hold up now. It reminded me of...
Who said that?
Right? I was like, there he is, right? Phil Davidson is back. So, look, Farrakhan's crazy. Okay. Now, if you want to make a point about Libya, fair points on both sides. We should be in Libya. We shouldn't be in Libya. If you want to say, hey, that's colonialism, and you know, Gaddafi's been friends with Farrakhan. Farrakhan's been friends with Gaddafi a long time, right?
Right.
So I get his motivations, et cetera, et cetera. Now, I don't agree with his motivations. I think it's terrible to be friends with Gaddafi and support him. I think Gaddafi was a dictator. I don't think that. I know that. He was a dictator in Libya for a long time, et cetera. You can make those arguments. But they come in with the talk about a murderer, an assassin.
Yeah.
And, okay, it's crazy talk. Okay, and then my second favorite part of the video was the lady at the end.
Uh-huh.
Did you notice the lady who was like...
I didn't know. I didn't know.
See that?
He got to the murder line. She's wearing a yellow, and she's sitting down, and everybody starts standing up. She's like, he went to murder? She was appalled.
Oh, I want to see
Murderer
that.
watches that.
Oh,
there
that
she is.
I didn't even notice that.
She's like, what he said?
I think she's even saying, like, what the hell?
And then I'm looking at the white guy, right? And I'm like, is he with them, or is he going to spring up and do something? No, he is with them. That's fascinating. And then he starts applauding. I was like, random white dude at Nation of Islam. Okay. So, by the way, that guy's the most obvious FBI plant of all time. And he's like, should I go get this son of a bitch right now? No, I gotta do my job. All right, okay, yeah. I'm coming for you. Okay.
There's another point of it. Like you said, there's many things in there. But you need your backup. You need your boys. He said, let me ask you a question. Would God give his only begotten son to this world? Think about it. If you got your boys that give you a little bit of background, think about it. It's like backup singers.
Right. Preach it. Teach it. Well, he's Muslim, of course, and saying that's why Christianity doesn't make sense, etc. But what I love about this stuff is the randomness, right?
Uh-huh.
So he went to England.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, and then what? Right? And then he's like, he stayed in Buckingham Palace. Now, how many people stay in Buckingham Palace? Okay.
I know.
It's like, and then he went to Wendy's. How many people go to Wendy's? Most people go to McDonald's or Burger King. You didn't hear me. Okay, you're like, okay, dude, I got it. And then with all these kind of maniacs, at some point, of course, satanic forces come into play.
Of course.
Okay.
But here's the thing, okay? There are definitely elements of that video that make you realize he's a little unstable, right? But there were also things that he was saying that made sense. Like when he was talking about Saddam Hussein and the lack of weapons of mass destruction when we went to Iraq. Like, he makes some legitimate points, but they're completely, I guess, diminished.
Overshadowed.
They're overshadowed, exactly. As soon as he says crazy things like the England thing in Buckingham Palace, or, you know, when he yells at the audience for no reason.
No, but that's the thing, though. Crazy people always mix in, like, things that are true, right? So he'd be like, you know, he stayed at Buckingham Palace. And you know what? If you get 2 nickels, it's a dime. You didn't hear me. Okay. And you're like, wait a minute, 2 nickels are a dime. I wonder if he's right about Buckingham Palace. You see what I'm saying?
Yes.
Okay. JR, did you have a last point? No? Okay, we're going to let it go. Okay,
that's awesome.
That's Louis Farrakhan. Okay. By the way, under Rand Paul's theory, I should be arrested. Rand Paul, who pretends to be a libertarian, but the other day said that if you go to the wrong kind of speeches, you should be arrested. Okay? Now, I went to go see Louis Farrakhan when I was in college. Okay? Not because I agreed with him, but because I wanted to hear him for myself, because people say he's this, he's anti-Semitic, he's that. And some people say, oh, he's great, he's very motivational, etc. And I'm Muslim at the time, so I'm like, Nation of Islam, it's in Philadelphia, it's right next door, why don't I go? Check it out for myself. And I've told this story before, first half of the speech is fantastic. Self-reliance, 2 nickels make a dime, you know, 50 cents plus 50 cents is $1, okay, and stand up for yourself, etc., etc. Okay, great. Second and half of the speech, cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs.
What did you talk about in the second half? Do you remember?
Why do you think they call it jewels? Because of the Jews.
What? But how does? Okay, but what does that mean? What does that mean?
But who stays in Buckingham Palace? Who stays in Buckingham Palace? Okay, I don't know. Like, and then it was crazy talk. It was lunacy, and the people around me are standing up, standing ovation stuff. I'm like the black lady in the yellow suit. I'm like. Okay. So I was like, oh no, that's not for me, right? So I left, but under Rand Paul's theory, I should have been arrested.
Right.
For listening to the wrong kind of speeches. Okay. All right. Now we move forward. Oh, what are you talking about? We already got to take a break. Everybody calm down. Great stories coming up for you. Just calm down, come right back.